A wonderful evening to all you folk here in St. Michael's and all my colleagues in the parliamentary party and indeed you, the foot soldiers, who without you we will be nothing. All my colleagues and friends, comrades, good night. I am can in no way fill in Miss Motley's shoes. But when she called earlier today to say she could not come, I could hardly understand what she was saying. I too have a terrible sore throat, and at this time of the year, you're canvassing, you're getting wet. The wind is so cold in St. Thomas. So I too have a little thing in the throat. However, I will try my best to put over some of the points and to say to you that I had the privilege of working with Motley straight consecutive years in the Ministry of Education. 7 straight consecutive years in education, but I would have been in the vanguard with her since about 1986, 87. So we know each other well, and I feel extremely proud to have been nurtured by her while in education as her parliamentary secretary. It has been the most wonderful time ever that I had been engaged in working in the Ministry of Education, even though I remained there for another almost 7 years. And I know of the professionalism. And I was very glad when Tyrone spoke about the prison, the Dodge prison. And I agree that there are some people walking around Barbados with their chests up in the air. Some of them look as though they're wearing bulletproof vests, who when they came into office were trimmed like her. And now some of them are 300 pounds, who when they're criticizing the prison, they should really start looking for a cell up there. They should really start looking. But I want to say, comrades, we are hearing the Democratic Labour Party spokespeople talk about winning this election on morality. I do not know if they understand that word morality. But then again, they may feel that I don't know it. I don't know the meaning, because a John Voice told me in the estimates one day, wait till my trough put. Well, his trough was in the sea that he dipped in with Richard Seeley. So he would know where the trough is. That's how they want to treat women. And I'm going to be one woman who will not tolerate any nonsense from any of them. Men have to respect women, and women have to respect men. But that is not all. He came back when we were doing the energy bill, and he shouted across the floor because he was interrupting poor Dwight, who would have been new in Parliament. This last discussion we had on the energy, and there was not so much the energy, it was to do with the increase in the natural gas. And I said, shouted across the floor and said, but why are you interrupting him? The Prime Minister presented, nobody interrupted him. Leave him and give him a chance. He's young and now learning to do it the right way. Well, you know which part of his anatomy he told me to kiss across the floor, and he was not cautioned at all. It only goes to show that the arrogance and the disrespect that some of those people in the Democratic Labour Party have for ordinary people and others leaves a lot to be desired. We were doing something at the University of the West Indies, and he said the member for St. Thomas would not be able to contribute to this, Mr. Speaker. She did not have the privilege to go to the University of the West Indies, but you know it's true though. But when I got my opportunity to speak, I am sure I did a better delivery than he by far. The first thing I said, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to thank you for the privilege. I did not receive the education to do the degree at the University of the West Indies. However, sir, I was educated at the University of Common Sense. And it almost blew him away. Almost blew him away. I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to know that if they're going to win this election on morality, I want to know why a minister in government did not renew his driver's license. Had a very serious accident, that the persons were very badly injured, and was fined by a court and had to pay $1,000. You cannot be a lawmaker and a lawbreaker too. I I want to know, comrades, where someone is being accused of robbing someone who was disabled. And the Prime Minister, when we came with confidence motion, said, go and get a good lawyer. The money was paid back, and I know, or I have learned by whom. But the point is, you cannot be a lawmaker and a lawbreaker in the highest institution in Barbados. That this is the first time in my life, and I don't mind what Dalton was saying, I am 35 years old, will be 36 years old on the 1st of March. But never yet in my life have I seen anything of this kind taking place in that noble institution called Parliament. And then we are learning now that one or two of them have been receiving duty-free cars. Well, people have to meet a certain criteria, or criterion rather, in order to receive duty-free cars. We will investigate that further. I heard about those vehicles, those Jeeps, one X5, and I got the paper to show who they belong to and who is alleged to have received them as gifts, because I took pictures in Parliament of them too when they were driven there. Tell me about the morality you're talking about. Tell me about the people who we are understanding are on the tape. Heard some got houses too, some bought boats, some live up in rolling hills, and some are doing all kinds of things that you, the ordinary man or woman, could never do. Because for you to have gone up to Christchurch, when that bulletin was done, and that sign was placed on the beach, and your son or you or I had gone and removed that sign to say that the beach is no longer closed and to plunge in a sea of sewage, we would have been charged by the Royal Barbados Police Force. You cannot have a just society where some people can go away scot-free for doing what is wrong, and others have to face a magistrate and sometimes go to prison. Something is wrong with this society. And then there's another one that is a candidate, again, I understand, who determined no national insurance would be paid by me for 5 straight years. You and I have to pay our NIS, and we cannot even get our PAYE returns back. People cannot get back their VAT returns. But this distinguished individual said, I am not paying any, and refused for 5 straight years because the outcome was, oh, somebody else had my ID number. I hope that tonight to come back as a candidate again, that individual has settled the debts at the National Insurance Office, because ordinary people have to go and conform with the law. Everybody must be a part of the law across the board, despite color or class or creed. And I am sorry to see where Barbados has come in this time, when we know parliamentarians were always people we looked up to, whom our children and others emulated and wanted to become a parliamentarian. Not anymore. Everybody takes all of us and throws it into one big bucket and says all of them are into skullduggery. Will you take the Barbados Labour Party out? Take the members of the Barbados Labour Party out, any of them getting involved. And I, one of the youngest members in this party, get to know, kiss me goodbye. Kiss me goodbye. I am as serious as a judge, but I have confidence in all these young people who have joined the Barbados Labour Party, and that is why we are pushing that envelope to say integrity legislation must be voted for, and we are going to Parliament with the integrity legislation, because fairness must happen and everybody must conform with the laws of Barbados. I also want, comrades, to let you know that when I came to public office in 1994, I felt so proud to be functioning at the highest level. An ordinary girl from the villages in St. Thomas, rising or being elevated to a level of that nature. And now I have seen a bunch of people in Parliament on the other side who are so snobbish. They believe in snobbery and arrogance, pushing up the chest, insulting the people. telling them all kinds of awful things, some of us on our side and some ordinary people in the society. The same people that they have to come back and ask for a vote. They're into lies and propaganda and believe that that will carry them where they should go. I am sorry, but I have my information too. And if we're going to be looking at morality, the morality envelope must be open and let the whole guts of what is happening in Barbados come out, because it's only the only way that we can clean up, have a clean slate, and go forward anytime after 2018. But I also want, comrades, to let you know that as a result of those pioneers we had in the Barbados Labour Party, and indeed want to throw them in the Democratic Labour Party, that we continue in this great party that will soon be 80 years old to push for integrity, to push for good governance, to offer quality service to the people of Barbados, to treat the electorate like human beings who have needs and whose needs must be met by us once we have to manage the purse of the government. So we had a Grantley Adams, the right excellent mayor, the Lord bless him in his grave. We had a Tom Adams, one of the best in the world. A Bree St. John, shy in appearance, but dynamic as a prime minister, although his period was not so long. And we had an Owen Arthur, that I sing his praises. We will all have difficulties, tongue and teeth have words. But I sing his praises because his management of the affairs of Barbados between 1994 and 2008 was second to none, because he carried on the policies from Tom and Grantley and Bree and so on. And I am fond of it, and I mention it all the time. That whole notion, that whole concept of politics of inclusion, although some of us would have had a little difficulty with some persons around us, eventually they have been integrated. But it softened a lot of the tensions and the anger that some of the Democratic Labour Party people had towards us and us towards them. And we as a government, and I speak to you from my heart with the truth that I only know, ensure that all Barbadians, despite their color, their class, their creed, their political status and so on, were engaged in employment and offering service on boards, in communities, and we went on as a happy marriage of people all living in this island Barbados. All of a sudden, from 2008, the Democratic Labour Party has driven one dagger right down the center of Barbados. So if you are a B, no work, no services, no opportunity to do anything, it's going out like the route to Jamaica according to what I see. I speak for Cynthia on that one. And we have people out there in our communities who are bitter and angry, and they say and do some awful things. And I'm making this point here in St. Michael because you don't know the culture of the politics in rural Barbados, where we don't get a single road. Dennis Kellman in rural development would not give us a single house repair. But I want him to tell me if it is true that an Anglican church has received cameras from the Rural Development Commission. Because I want street lights though. I want street lights in St. Thomas. We want street lights in St. Andrew, St. Joseph, St. Peter, St. James South, St. James North, and so on. And we're hearing of rural sponsoring cameras for a church that can afford to buy its own cameras. I have no problem with the churches, because without the churches we are nothing. But I want for the poor people of Barbados, impoverished as this government has made them, who are now in wheelchairs, and they cannot wheel the wheelchairs through the crowd into the house in rural and urban Barbados because they're getting no services from those agencies. Unless you are one of them, you are not getting any service. And that is the kind of division to which I refer. Those people who are staying home, beautify Barbados. Beautify Barbados constituted a large number of people from rural Barbados. And those peoples were sent home unceremoniously in April, I think, 2014. And when I heard one of the callers on the radio, whose name I will not call, but whom I know, two Fridays ago, it was so heart-wrenching when the moderator said, so what are you doing now? And how have you been suffering? She cannot pay her rent. She has to rely on members of her family for food from 2014, April, and it's almost April again, almost 4 years. A woman who worked for more than a decade in Beautify Barbados. But that is not all. We had them in sanitation, in school meals, in the transport board, the NTW, in the Ministry of Housing and Lands. And a government that came in and said they love people, they're loving people, the Dems are, decapitated the headship at Rural Development Commission. They took out Mr. Edgell. You know where the Barbados money has to go now, and they have no problem. Because if the court says Mr. Edgell must be compensated because it was wrongful dismissal, give him all of his money. Then they went to Rural Development Commission. And poor Peter Scott, I saw him here this evening, it pains my heart. A man who was appointed, and he has been given the judgment, cannot get a cent from 2008 until now, under this Democratic Labour Party that said that they are fair. Where is the fairness? And there's so many others that were over at the Ministry of Housing and Lands, sent home unceremoniously. And these people say they love one another. We are all Barbadians and we must survive in this country, but that kind of treatment must not be meted out to anybody at all. I also want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that this crop of politicians has defied every aspect of what we call justice, freedom. They rule by victimization. They believe in squandermania and families first. And you look and see in NCC, whose families are still working, that had come in for only a year or a few months when those large numbers of people from NCC were sent home and SSA were sent home as a result of the policies of this government that are failed policies. I have a serious problem with what is happening in Barbados. And our neighbors in the Caribbean, as was said before, are all saying, what has gone wrong with Barbados? Why are the people suffering in this way? Because this government came in, and when David Thompson says he is going to come with that new budget, and $200 million is what was accrued that year as a result of the taxing, road tax. They had to pay now for they had to pay the handling fee. They had improved the professional fees. Even the undertakers had their monies increased, the doctors, the lawyers, and all the other persons in professions to help to put money in a budget or into the pool of the consolidated fund, and now people are out there suffering. Where has the money gone, Mr. Stewart? Mr. Thompson can't answer me. I want his will probated too, you know. I want to know how his wife and family what they will receive as a result of his estate. Because Barbadians need to know. And we had our confidence in CLICO, and I'm glad to see that that is coming to resolution, but there are some things that have been hidden from us. And we ask questions, and they're not forthcoming, because it depends on who you are and who is your family or your friend. I also want, comrades, to let you know that Sir Lloyd, may the Lord bless him, I saw him at the installation ceremony of our new Governor General, and I want to publicly congratulate her. And I heard somebody, I'm not hearing that simply because if credit should be given where credit is due. I am not discussing the timing now. It is a Barbadian who has been given that honor, has had that honor bestowed on her, and I congratulate her for that. We have a non-national in Parliament who criticized and insulted us and talked about childless mothers. She has not done that. She respected us highly, and I want to congratulate her. But when Sir Lloyd said to his people last year or year before, what has gone wrong in the economy in Barbados? I have asked the question, he said. To this day, nobody has answered him. nor have they drawn on his ability or his capacity to be able to put back Barbados on an even keel. All we're hearing is a whole lot of rhetoric and little or no accountability for the funds that have been collected through the various taxes and other agencies to help to build up the economy of Barbados. And we are here with 21 downgrades, and nobody is saying anything except, well, what downgrade what? You don't pay that any attention. What kind of madness these well-educated people they boast they are could be telling us when we know what impact the downgrades can have. If you remember Cahill, when we heard about Cahill, Miss Motley is the person, may the Lord bless her, who came up and told the public of Barbados about this gasification company that's coming up. And where were they putting it? Right in the heart of St. Thomas. And nobody in St. Thomas knew. As a matter of fact, nobody in Barbados knew but the cabinet of Barbados. And I'm saying these things are wrong. Treat us with respect and let us work with you in efforts that will help to upgrade Barbados, to uplift our standards and make us a happy people at the end of it all. And Sir Lloyd is still waiting to get an answer to show his people what he can do. And we know of all the issues, so I don't have to tell you. Because when the Democratic Labour Party came and said they would build 100 houses in 100 days, the ones up at Coverley still there. The ones at Constant, I don't think many people are in them, if any are in yet. We know what happened to the ones down in Lancaster 1 and 2. And we know what's happening over in Valerie and the other area by the Grotto. And we know about the skullduggery that is alleged to have been taking place in them. And they're not built for poor people. They are built for the rich and the famous. And poor people are now being put in them. And some of them are not even meeting their monthly payments. Because I've seen something from someone who is in Country Towers. $4,500 in outstanding debt for rent. So those people can't meet the criteria, because if your salary has never been improved over a 10-year period for you to get your salary increase, and if the taxes are just climbing in every area, and now that NSRL that has been imposed on us, you know then things are getting worse. I heard tonight, because I get telephone calls every day, there's something that causes people to gravitate towards me. So sometimes I see the 428 numbers. Those are not St. Thomas numbers. The 433. Now they have these 5 numbers, and so I'm not even so sure where they are. But people call me, they leave messages, they write letters, and I'm sure that Cynthia and Trevor and Mia and Glenn and Dwight and Colonel Bostic and all of them, they get letters and they get calls too, of people who have lost their work and have absolutely nothing to eat some days, and their children are suffering. Why has that happened? Because this government, the Democratic Labour Party government under the leader, Funded Stewart, chose to send home the people at the bottom of the ladder, most of them. They did to send home one single minister of 17 to say at least this $100,000 per year will be able to go to another project. They still have kept their numbers, with some of them having only a half-day job. And they're not even doing those properly either. But poor people have been sent home, and they are suffering. You only need to get on the road, or you only need to retrieve your messages. We who are the MPs and we who are the candidates, and we can tell you of the suffering. So that when people say, I haven't had anything for breakfast, and the children go on school, thank God for the breakfast clubs. I think it's the YWCA. And other community groups and so are making sure that our children get breakfast, because a hungry child cannot study. It cannot do anything in a classroom. The Barbados Labour Party had us on an even keel. People were working. They could spend some money. We had some non-nationals among us. They were working too. They were spending money. They were renting houses. They were plowing the land to make sure that agriculture became a viable entity. And that David Thompson, may he rest wherever he is, said, ever so welcome, wait for a call, and sent back home those people who were helping us to build the agriculture that is so pertinent to our own existence. And now we are having an import bill more than $800 million every year. I'm going to wrap up. I know that I can't fit in Miss Motley's shoes. And I know that if I had to start education tonight, where there's a controversy that's going to show its head by tomorrow, I would have been able to say so much to you. But let me finish on the note, because I am shadowing social care and constituency empowerment, as well as welfare and child care. And the note I want to finish on that saddens me is because of the unemployment that this government has put on these people. When a Barbados Labour Party gave the people of Barbados security of tenure by making those general workers and janitors and so on permanent employees, to be able to go with a letter to say, we would want to make a loan, get a mortgage, and so on, because we have a document to show that we are capable of borrowing the money because our jobs are secure. This government destroyed it by sending home those people who needed it more than ever. And I heard whenever the minister speaks and he says, there are 4,000 people on the welfare list. How could you send home more than 4,000 people though? And the private sector sent home almost as many or more. And the people who have gone, who have no source, because some parents have got a pension taken away. Those who had two, one has been taken away, and they are trying to survive and help other family members. Those persons are suffering to the core, and they need more help than ever from this government, because they are hurting, they are suffering from numerous diseases, numerous anxieties, and so, and who is hearing them? The social care minister doesn't have ears for them. He has other interests. I heard when I go to Parliament on a Tuesday, and we are there anytime after 6 o'clock, to see the large crowds of Barbadians and perhaps one or two non-nationals among them. Because if the Barbadians can't feed themselves, the non-nationals who have no work can't feed themselves either. But the numbers have grown exponentially over the past 3 years as a result of what is happening. And we have now, they have now, as a government, developed a mendicant set of people who have to sit down and wait for hands out for food. It hurts, it is wrong. The Barbados Labour Party has to correct it, empower Barbadians, and give them an opportunity to improve the quality of their life. Sanitation, that also goes with health and the other aspects. When I went to Edge Hill Terrace, you heard the name? I did not tell you the Vault Road, that is an ordinary community. Edge Hill Terrace, last week, Monday, the garbage there was not picked up all from Christmas week right through. Mounds of garbage covered over with tarpaulin. Since Christmas, excuse me. Since from all the week leading into Christmas, no garbage was removed from Edge Hill Terrace. And it hurts. Mia Amar Motley fits the profile to be the Prime Minister of Barbados whenever that election is called. We have seen her performance as the first Attorney General of Barbados, and she fixed the prison. We have seen her performance as the first female leader of the opposition, and she has done an exceptionally good job under the circumstances. And I am sure that Mia Amar Motley will manage this government better than any Frondel Stewart or David Thompson once she is given the chance. And therefore, I implore you, whenever that election bell is called, go out in your numbers, vote for the Barbados Labour Party, because she cannot become the Prime Minister unless we have the majority. And those of you who have a moment, when you go home, check your Covenant of Hope, where we speak to the whole issue of the unions and the communication and the relationship we have had with them, because at the end of the day, the unions can break Barbados, or the unions can help to make Barbados that viable entity that we know it has been. God bless you, and thank you very much for your patience and your kindness.